Alright, I just decided to do a patch thing today, because everybody always asks me, they say, why don't you do patch previews or whatever, and I'm like, well, I kind of figured you guys would know, but, you know, with the latest Jax nerfs, and people not quite understanding how big the nerfs were, I think to myself, maybe people do need help understanding the patch notes. I just figured I go through this. On Lee's, they nerfed Lee's cocoon width, which means it's actually a reasonably large nerf, because right now, even me, who plays Elise, like, all the skill shots have, like, their own speed, their own width, their own everything, so sometimes, like, if I went to play Ezreal, I wouldn't know the wind-up, the animation, you know, etc., and I'd often miss my Qs and my Ws and my ults, but when I play Elise, it's like, her width was so large that really and truly and honestly, given how long this stun was, given the fact you get full visual on this stun, given all that, it was too good. I don't think Elise was overpowered. I think they could have given her kit like a little bit more power to make up for this, like maybe increasing her health per level a little bit, you know, maybe to 90. I don't know what it is right now, but it can't be 90. She's too squishy. But anyway, that's a fairly large nerf. I'll call that a medium nerf, and I'll also call this like a medium nerf. 100 less range is a medium to high nerf. It's pretty bad. Onto Elise, or not Elise, from Elise onto Evelyn. I kind of like this change because they've given her a little bit of power back, at least, when she builds items. What I don't like, though, is that I think what they should have done is it should have been like 0.45 to like 0.7, you know, something like that. I don't know. I think that, yeah, I don't know. I think Evelyn, especially when she's losing 10 damage on the rank 1, and she's losing 30 damage on the rank 5. I mean, they try to make up for it with the mana and the bonus attack damage ratio and the bonus ability power ratio, but the end result is that you would need 300 ability power just to go even. And with 400 ability power, you would get 10 more damage than you did before. Likewise, with the bonus attack damage, you would need, what is that, 150? Yeah, you would need 150 damage to go even. That's really high. Most AD casters even right now are building items like Blade of the Ruined King and Ghost Blade, so even they don't get 150 damage till late game. On Gragas, yeah, originally when they previewed these nerfs, I was like, oh, Gragas isn't that bad. People keep getting better and bigger at Gragas, and it's become apparent that, yeah, he kind of did need to get nerfed pretty hard. This is the interesting change right here. You might see tank Gragases a little more. You might not. I don't think you will. I think people are just going to continue to play auto-give Gragas. It's just auto-give Gragas isn't going to double up as a Renekton anymore. This is one of the larger bugs in this patch. The big problem will always be that Warpath has no use in a team fight because everybody is a slow. Everybody has a red buff. He's always going to be below max movement speed, meaning that Warpath, this passive, which holds so much of his power, is 100% useless in team fights. I think if they finally did like a revamp on slows, remove the slow from red buff, remove the slow on Threshy, remove the slow on Lulu's ult, you know, did all this stuff, then maybe Hecarim could actually use his passive. I think the ability for him to actually use his passive beats the ability to randomly, you know, pick people off because his passive now is so outrageously powerful. Like, what did it used to be, like 20%? Now it's 30% and it'll still do nothing. They can make it 9,000%, and when it comes to team fights, it wouldn't do anything. Anyway, the Rampage buff is probably where all the power is. This is a really big buff. So this buff allows him to mid-game a lot better. This buff allows him to early game a lot better. Well, I should say early mid-game. This buff, they probably should have done this a long time ago, but end result, this is too little too late. Jax's win rate is actually going down still. I think it's at 45% now. Effectively, Jax is auto lose right now. And while this change needed to happen a long time ago, and I always thought they were gonna like reduce his health per level down to like 94, 95 in return for, you know, fixing up his attack. It doesn't. This is like they've already shit on the champion. This is not gonna do anything. Lee Sin was one of the more harsh nerfs. This is a really harsh nerf, actually. They did try to give him 2 more health per level, and that might help, maybe, but I think that overall, Lee probably isn't gonna see. I think this is a really, really big nerf. This is a big buff for Olaf, but you have to keep it in perspective that Olaf right now is the worst champion in the game by a long stretch. The worst. The worst. And, this is like, it's gonna take him, he's not gonna be complete auto-lose. Like, right now he's got like a 42% win rate, 41% sometimes. So effectively, if you pick Olaf, your team loses. It only allows. And this is a champion with a huge skill cap. So not only is he doing terrible, but he also has a huge skill cap. So the undertow buff is going to increase his skill cap because now he's going to have to hit even more skill shots. This is a buff with the Mikhail's Crucible seeing a little bit more play. This might mean a little bit more. I think though that with Sivir out of competitive play, with Heal getting nerfed, with Spear of Visage getting nerfed, with Sunfire getting nerfed, with Frozen Heart getting nerfed, with Warmogs getting nerfed, with Black Cleaver getting nerfed, with every item he's ever... with Banshee's Veil now, it's like... Sorry, Olaf, you know, this is gonna make you... This might bump him up to like a 45% win rate, so like, maybe niche players can use him, but like overall this is... It's like, yeah, maybe I'm gonna try. I'm not gonna discard these buffs and be like, no. But like, his Q lost 10 damage. He can't really lane against ranged champions anymore. They're not fixing the mana cost in his Q. His Q still has too much of a mana cost. So reducing the cooldown does help him chase people down, but it doesn't help him lane. And I know that laning right now is kind of like a lot of people aren't. Like, what's the right way to put this? A lot of people are kind of ignoring the laning phase right now. And, just trying to get to level 6 with teleport. So maybe, and I'm just saying maybe Olaf can ride on the back of teleport to make up for his terrible early game. But his armor per level is low. His health per level is merely average. It's actually pretty low when you consider he's a pure melee champion. Pure melee champions have good, like, either huge survivability skills or like 96, you know, health per level. He's got like 93, so it's like Shyvana is 96. Shen actually has 85, but Shen gets the highest health to damage in anything. Like, you know, Shen's an interesting case. Let's just ignore that. So anyway, Olaf, he's gonna be better, but I suspect his win rate's gonna shoot up maybe to 45% from 42%. He might see play a couple times in the LCS, but I think without Sivir being a competitive pick anymore, that Olaf's weakness is too big of a weakness, and Riot never really realized that Sivir was kind of propping up Olaf and making him seem good, and then they just shat on him with nerves. So now, the other thing is that slows, you know, they're just getting too proliferated. Unless you're Mundo, who gets 35% movement speed on top of 35% tenacity, there's just too many slows. Maokai now gets a slow on his E, Lulu gets a perma slow on her ult and an 80% slow on her Q, Thresh gets a slow on his E and his R, 2 times on his R, and he gets a stun, Braum gets a slow on his Q and on his ult, and he stuns you. And it's just like, okay, pure melee unless you're Mundo. Shyvana, I don't agree with this. I think that they should have just overlooked this, honestly. Especially considering that this was like the only thing you could use to like, you know, be skilled with Shyvana, and now they're removing it. It's like, okay. So now, you know, I think Shyvana was like one of the only melee champions still being picked up, and this is actually a fairly massive nerf, to be honest. It means that her all-in potential is losing like 80 damage. And that's only 80 damage on the trail. If you consider, you know, this part, her game against Lulu is going to get a lot worse. Meanwhile, they're buffing Kale, despite Kale still being a top pick in the OGN. And sometimes Riot just does things and you're like, oh, you're kind of dumb, but okay. Yeah, I mean, that's a buff. This is a buff. Too much of a buff, in my opinion. I think Lissandra was already seeing light competitive play, and this is pretty much, you know, like when they buffed Annie and they kept buffing Annie and Ziggs, and they're just like, you will play this champion competitive. This is how I feel like they're doing with Lissandra. They're not saying like, if you like Lissandra, you can play Lissandra. They're saying Lissandra is so powerful now and so dominant top lane that you will play Lissandra or you will lose the game. Lulu, she's still in the game. Lux, this won't make Lux competitive, I don't think, maybe. Either way, at least when people do pick Lux, she's not gonna be a bad Ziggs. At least she'll have more, you know, burst potential than Ziggs if done right. Light buffs to Vel'Koz, I don't know why Riot keeps going on and on about counterplay, and then they're like, oh, but this range champion needs to put down a field that effectively you cannot dodge anymore. It's like, okay. They're nerfing Yasuo a lot. I think this is finally gonna be it when he leaves competitive play. I mean, this is just huge. These are huge nerfs. Even when you play Yasuo against like Mundo or Shyvana, and you're like, I'm gonna get shit on all mid game, but at least I can go back late game. Well, you're not going to come back late game anymore. I mean, it's a nerf. It's a nerf. Really insignificant. I don't know. I feel like what they should have done for Graves is done what they did to Lucian. I think Graves should honestly be completely revamped and changed into an AD caster. I never thought Graves was like the auto-attacking type. And attack speed, you're giving a shotgun more attack speed. Like, I think what they should do is like change Buckshot and his E to like after using his E, then Graves' next attack gets the Buckshot effect. Then they should change Graves' Q into like, I don't know, like a shield that like slows him, shields him, and then gives him like 20% more damage per auto attack or something. So like he becomes like a juggernaut of range, like how it was in that cinematic. So he's kind of like Urgot in a way, except instead of slowing his opponent, he slows himself and then just gains huge damage. And you know, you're like, oh, we can't fight Graves, he's too powerful. I don't know. Whatever. Really insignificant. It's like, oh no, he's actually more powerful late game. That's a nerf, right? We're nerfing him, right? No, you're not. You're buffing him. Don't kid yourself. You're gonna see Kog'Maw even more. Probably a good nerf. I think that, the biggest change here for Lucian is that Lucian's gonna be not like weak to Mundo and Malphite, but like he's gonna be at risk to Mundo and Malphite. So like you're not gonna be able to just play Lucian, and like when Mundo and Malphite are coming at you, you're not gonna be able to go, oh, Lucian can just go solo them, and then Lucian will just dash every time he gets hit by, you know, Malphite's Q or Mundo's Q, and then he just like 1v1s them and beats them without ever taking significant damage. You'll actually have to, if you want Lucian and you want a champion that's just dashing around murdering everybody, you're gonna have to peel for them. I don't really know what this is about. It's like, yeah, we're buffing Sivir, but Sivir's still gonna get beaten lane by Tristana, and Tristana's gonna be able to AFK, press Q, and beat Sivir late game, so it's like, why would I ever pick this? Tristana's W still has a healing debuff. Okay, they're also buffing her late game. Okay, I don't really know. I mean, Tristana is actually winning the laning phase right now, and then hyperscaling into late game. So you've got a champion that not only wins the laning phase, but then is also beating assassins 1v1 late game because her damage is just so insane. And it's like, why would I ever pick someone that isn't Kog'Maw, that isn't Tristana, right? Really is not acknowledging the problem that exists here. And so she still has a healing debuff. Why does a range carry have a healing debuff? So they can double dip? Now they beat Mundo and then they get to healing debuff him too? I don't get it. Why do range carries have healing debuffs? Why do range carries have slows? They're range carry. If you want to have a slow and healing debuff, you know, why don't you play Nidalee? Nidalee doesn't even have the slow or healing debuff. My point is that if you're a range carry, you're there to do massive sustained damage. So why do you get to have more utility than most melee champions to boot? That's Tristana in a nutshell. I don't know why they're buffing Varus. Next patch, I think next patch is largely going to be the Maokai Vayne patch. Because of these changes. Vayne now, you know, gets 4.0 attack speed per level. So you're going to see shit like late game Vayne is going to double. I mean, she was already doubling up as an 80 caster, but now she's going to, you know, be an 80. They're buffing her R. They're buffing her attack speed per level. You're going to see late game Vayne murder Mundo in like 5 seconds. A full health Mundo is just going to be dead. It's gonna be really pathetic, if I'm gonna be honest. Oh yeah, totally. 1.1 attack damage ratio is totally worth 15 damage. Are you fucking with me? Yeah, I expect to see Vayne get to permaban status real quick. I'm not gonna go into this. Braum can still do it 1.75 seconds stun by auto attacking. Don't care. These are really insignificant. These are really, I mean, what's sad is that they're nerfing Nami harder than they're nerfing Braum, because Braum can still do a 1.75 second stun by auto-attacking. Nami is to hit a skill shot to do a 1.5 second stun. Thresh still is all its CC, doesn't matter. That's probably a good buff, nobody's building it. I don't agree with that, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, I don't agree with that. Needed to be nerfed harder, should probably just do like 150 damage, not 15% health damage. Why is an item a tank busting, sustained damage, burst damage item? Why is there a tank busting, sustained damage, burst damage item? What does this item not kill? It kills tanks, it kills squishies, it does more sustained damage, it allows you to wave clear faster because you've got more cooldown reduction, it gives you a huge gobload of AP so you don't even need, you know, the active in most cases. It's like, I don't know. I don't know why they're buffing Crystal Scepter. I think they should remove it from the game, honestly. I don't think items that just give you power, like, you get more slows now, like, why? Who needs more slows? Who doesn't have the slow anymore? Probably a really dumb nerf. This is gonna make poke comps even tougher. I don't really know why they're doing this. Like, it makes sense to me, because, like, it was overpowered, but I don't know why they're doing it, because it's like, there's lots of overpowered items. Vampiric Scepter, Infinity Edge, Bloodthirster, Deathfire Grasp, Zarya's Hourglass. Why are they focusing on Chalice of Harmony here of all items? Like, were AP champions getting Chalice of Harmony and then beating everybody? I don't know. Like, Malphite was getting Chalice top and just, no, the AP champion can't beat him anymore. Malphite, I don't know. It's a bug fix. I don't know. Bug fixes that nerf bad things I've never really agreed with. I think this is gonna buff Razor, because not only, it's gonna do two things, okay? The first thing it's gonna do is, it's actually gonna allow every, you know, player to know that Madrid's Razor does stack up Wriggles. Right now, a lot of people don't know that. So like, you'll see things like Rengar. Rengar will just bum rush Wriggles, and you're like, you know, you could have gotten on Madrid's Razors. Razors allows you to just obliterate the jungle, then you can build that into a Tiamat, or, you know, a defensive item if that's the way you want to go, and then later on you can just complete your Wriggles. Now you're big. I don't know. Doesn't matter. These are the biggest nerfs of the patch, in my opinion. Exhaust getting nerfed and heal getting nerfed are really good for the game. I think that heal getting nerfed is probably the biggest deal right now. 130 less health at level 18. what effectively this is going to mean, especially since old top laners have to get teleport, is that with the 475 heal, it often meant that ranged champions were harder to kill and tankier than melee champions. You'd often see teams just be like, should we get the range carry? Well, if we can dive on them, otherwise it's probably easier to kill, the melee champion. Now it's got 130 less health, which isn't going to change much, but at the very least it means that range carries are going to be a little bit less powerful. It means diving them bot lane gonna be a little bit easier, probably like 50 health easier come mid game. Means that late game, the AD carry won't be able to just drop a 500 heal down on somebody. Does mean that Olaf though, since Olaf got the most health increase, like you'd often see things like Olaf would be at like 30% health, pop his W, and then like the AD carry would heal him and the support would crucible him, and all of a sudden he's back at full health. It's like, yeah. That, I mean, obviously didn't come up very often. These are all insignificant, so whatever. That's it. Things to take away. Ranged carries getting nerfed. Assassins getting buffed. Maokai's not getting nerfed, so next patch is gonna be Maokai all day, every day. Vayne got huge buffs, so you're gonna see Vayne probably auto ban. Tristana's still going to be a top pick. None of these champions are going to see picks. None of them. It's going to be Tristana, Vayne, and Kog'Maw. You're going to see all late game carries all day bot lane, because Kog'Maw and Tristana are beating the mid game AD carries bot lane. Beating, not going even, beating. So even after they get nerfed, okay, let's say they get nerfed and they're going even with the mid-game AD carries. They're going even with people, and then late-game Tristana starts killing other AD carries in 1.5 seconds. She props her Q auto R, and they're dead. And it's just like, okay. I'm glad they didn't do the Twitch buffs. I really thought they were going to do that, much like how they buffed Kale. So you're going to see a lot of Twitch, Tristana, maybe some Jinx, Vayne, Kog'Maw. You're only going to see late game champions. You're not going to see Graves because, it gets to late game and he's going to use his entire ability kit. Tristana's going to auto attack 3 times. Who's better? The champion that has to use their entire kit to keep up, or the champion that does that much damage simply by pressing Q and auto attacking? Also, Tristana has a healing debuff. I keep saying that because it bothers me. It really does. It bothers me that a late game hyper carry shuts down other late game carries like Mundo, like Zac. I mean, Zac isn't good, but obviously he still gets shut down. Like, let's say they do buff up Zac one day, then Tristana's still going to be countering him. So like, why does a late game hyper carry get to counter other late game hyper carries? I don't know, because like, especially when you look at like healing, when Tristana uses her healing debuff on Graves, now Graves is getting, I'd say he's got a couple of runes and a bloodthirster, 23% lifesteal. Her healing debuff's knocking off, 11.5% lifesteal. Let's say he does 1,500 damage in lifesteal, or 1,500 damage, now she's knocking off like a good 170 damage. So now her explosive shots doing 260 magic and 170 true damage on a champion, and this is on only like lifesteal. Like if we're talking like Yasuo here, like who does all his damage in auto attacks, like she's not gonna have a lot more damage than that. If we're talking Mundo, explosive shots probably doing like 3,000 or not 300 true damage in addition to that. So it's like, I don't know. It bothers me. It does. No AD carry should have a healing debuff. Assassins should. So that's a patch. Go for it.